After human beings discovered wormhole technology, two astronauts leave the International Space Station to visit one of the planets that were expected to harbor life. One of these planets were Planet Orange, as it was later on discovered to be. The two astronauts, Sabla and Steve, have looked out from their disc-shaped to look at the planet that was orbiting a giant red. The planet's surface was surprisingly orange, and there were several satellites that were broken down around its orbit. They decided to monitor the situation, but Sabla refused that they can't take a lander to the planet because something seems off. At first, Steve didn't understand why she refused, so according to protocol, they sent two drones to monitor the situation. Although the planet seems like it has civilized life, it awfully seems it's dead and rather lifeless. The drones descend into the orbit. Orange clouds greeted them upon entry. As they descend down, they observe that the whole planet was covered with orange dust. As they descend down, they met streets and cities, and they were all abandoned and cracking and crumbling. The streets were covered with orange dust. As they descend down into the street level, they witnessed rotten carcasses everywhere, skeletons covered with orange dust, flowering and releasing spores. The buildings were all covered with orange dust. All the trees were dead. All the animals in the fields lay on the ground dead and covered with orange dust. Rivers, lakes, oceans were covered with the stuff. The onboard computer told Sabla and Steve that the situation was horrific, and that what happened is that the planet was clearly has been wiped out by what seems like a fungus, a bioengineered fungus. The inhabitants were reptilian humanoid species. From the bones that remained on the street, the computer analyzed that these reptilian humanoid species have developed some form of biological weapon that took over the whole planet, and now every living thing wiped out. All the streets abandoned and empty. Only a single life form lives on that planet now. The fungus, the orange fungus that took over every corner of the planet. Sabla was shocked at this discovery. As they move around the planet's orbit, they met a huge spaceship that was under construction, but it was never finished. It was only half completed. Its hull still empty. It seems the inhabitants were attempting to flee, but they were too late. Steve wanted to collect samples that this kind of biological weapon could come handy, but Sabla refused. If this organism reached Earth, it will wipe out the planet. In fear of contamination, the onboard computer sent message to the two drones that descended on the planet to self-destruct. The drones detonated mid-air. When the two astronauts returned to the International Space Station Mission Control, their commander, General Reyes, was outraged. He wanted them to collect samples, and such a biological weapon could have been very useful for planetary defense. However, Sabla refused, and she threatened that a second mission to the planet should be cancelled, and that no one should ever set foot on that planet, or else it will be the end of humanity. It was a very dangerous fungus, and if it is brought to Earth, it will wipe out humanity. And that she wanted the planet to be declared quarantined, and no further missions should be carried out on that planet. However, General Reyes didn't agree with her recommendations. She threatened that she would go public with the information if this protocol wasn't met. Reluctantly, General Reyes accepted her recommendation, but she knew very well this wasn't the end of Planet Orange.